Side 4 begins with Sweet is the Night, which does a bit well at easing the emotion and tension from the Rainy Day Concerto, and especially from Mr. Blue Sky, a heavenly, rocking rhythm of guitars, violins, synth, and drums play along for a good chunk of this track, with the lyrics of, "When the day is done, there's nowhere to run, and the people of the city have all lost and won." Jeff paints a picture with his recognizable vocals, a picture of an ever-glowing city just after sunset, with maybe a few amount of people wandering through its outdoor streets, while anyone else are all indoors. In your city dress, you stand and stare, you smoke another cigarette, and you comb your hair. But you forgot to bring a comb or hairbrush, so you're going to have to use the cigarette butt to brush your hair. Then we get some surprisingly yet excellent guest vocals from the late bassist himself, Kelly Grokert, singing about a light that shines and paints a trace of sadness on the street. I guess the light has gone emo, it seems. In the very next verse, Jeff mentions a Cartier or Cartier as he tells you to check it in case it's getting late and you can't afford to wait. For anyone who may not know, Cartier are a French branding company that sells and manufactures jewelry and watches. So, would this count as product placement? If films and TV shows and the like could have that, is it possible for music to do so as well? Anyway, we soon get to the chorus itself, which is beauty beyond measure. While it may remind some a bit of All the Young Dudes by Mott the Hoople, it's still distinct, unique, and catchy enough on its own. Sweet is the night when you're near, dark were the days, and now they disappear. In a way, this kind of does feel like a natural continuation of Concerto for a Rainy Day, thematically at least. How just being with someone you love and care for can really brighten up your day, or night in this case. And Jeff's guitar near the end is just an emotional little bit of detail that is just listen to yourself and just see for yourself. Sweet is the night, sweet is this song. Next is The Whale, the only other instrumental track on this album, and it's definitely one of ELO's more experimental tracks. This is probably up there with Another Heart Breaks from Time as among my favourite ELO instrumental songs. Inspired by a documentary about whaling, this is very quite synth-heavy, even fittingly enough using actual whale songs or possibly replicating such sounds with synthesizers. This is such a beautiful piece of music. The classical strings, Richard Tandy's keyboards, and even a bit of Ben Bevan's percussion, it all comes together to form this breathtaking masterpiece. I can easily think of whales and other sea creatures floating and swimming gracefully through the vast reaches of space, like in the Pines of Rome segment from Fantasia 2000. And it's just as epic as that. This theme of whales and whaling would also be used a year later by another classic rock band of the 70s, Yes, for their song Don't Kill the Whale, for their album Tormato, which I'll probably review later in the new year if I get myself the time, luck, and chance to do so. But as for this track, play it when you're in bed, whether it's with speakers, headphones, earphones, or what, and let yourself drift on to sleep, and see what thoughts and imagery come to your mind, brought on by such otherworldly music like this. Like Sweet as the Night, it's another underrated track of ELO's, and it deserves much more listening, attention, and appreciation. After that, we get the Birmingham Blues, which was named after a nickname used for the Birmingham City Football Club. And of course, Jeff Lynne himself was born in Birmingham, so naturally he would do a song about his home city, or at least one with the name of such in its title. Anyways, this track has quite a deceptive start, beginning with a low and ominous chord playing on some kind of string-like instrument, likely a synth emulating such. Then about 17 or 18 seconds in, we suddenly get this janky yet light-hearted rock and roll melody. Now, that's a subversion of expectations. Maybe. I think. This basically centers around Jeff working on the road and across this great big world, rolling like a stone and never getting back home. He's been gone for so long, and now he's got the Birmingham blues. Or that could likely be the post-Christmas blues, perhaps. Actually, this could be interpreted as being about Jeff's feelings regarding being all around the world, recording in studios, performing live in concerts in several cities and countries, to the point of becoming clearly homesick. He has the blues for that home city of his, that place of which he was born and raised in throughout a good chunk of his childhood. This, I honestly think a lot of people, especially big-time artists and musicians, can definitely relate to. Across the world, he's seen people and places, could be the same, but with a different name. That could be about how he has traveled through so many locations and has met so many people that they all start to get blurred and mixed together. That it becomes a bit hard to tell apart or even remember who's who, what's what, and where's where. Again, if you travel around the world on a mostly regular basis, you'd probably get how that may feel too. Anyway, this may be a very modernized evolution of classic blues and blues rock of the day. And so, side 4 and the entirety of Out of the Blue finally comes to a close with Wild West Hero. If Mr. Blue Sky doesn't make you tear up at least a bit, then I guarantee that this one, right here, will. Otherwise, nothing will. This may well be one of my favourite ELO songs, if not my absolute favourite in the whole discography. And yeah, that might be saying something. In this beautiful and touching ballad, Jeff sings about dreaming of being a hero in the Wild Western, believing that such could be a better life than the one he has in real modern present-day life. I mean, if you were to ignore the darker and more not so pleasant details in the history of such, I'm sure being in the Wild West period and era would be just a lovely walk in the park with rainbows and all. He would be the Indians' friend, letting them live to be free. Technically, that would be Native American, as to not confuse such with India Indians. Also, not sure about being a friend to the natives and how that may or may not be easy. I again refer back to my history comment. But still, it's about fantasizing, thinking of a more romanticized view of the time, like you'd see in old John Wayne or Sergio Leone films. And like I theorized with the Jungle Song, this could likely be another song about the dreamer character from El Dorado, having yet another Walter Mitty-style fantasy of his, or at the very least, being aware that such a dream of his is indeed just a dream of his, while still wishing it to be real nevertheless. And as for the music, we get a little jangly honky-tonk style piano played by cellist Melvin Gale, to fit in well with the Western theme of the track. Plus, by the end, we get this brilliant and heart-wrenching build-up of music as Jeff repeats the simple chorus over and over, wishing to be a Wild West hero, each time more emotional than the one right before it. It almost feels like a lift up to high heaven. It's almost hard to listen to this climax without shedding even a single tear just from the overwhelming music and emotion. It plays your heartstrings like the strings of a violin or cello. Until finally, it all comes back down as Jeff sends us all off with one last repeat and finally ending the song and the album on a fulfilling and resolving note. Over and all, Wild West Hero is the perfect conclusion to such a spectacular album. And so, that was ELO's Out of the Blue, and it's blooming fantastic. I honestly don't know if whatever I may say would even be enough to sum it up perfectly. It's 70 minutes of pure extravaganza. I can see why many people would easily rank this among ELO's best albums. At least a good chunk of its tracks among their best songs. It's also among the best demonstrations of Jeff Lynne's music production and sound design, utilizing some recorded ambient sound effects like trains, rain, and whale song to fit and enhance the concepts of certain songs here. Tracks like Sweet Talking Woman, Starlight, Sweet as the Night, The Whale, Wild West Hero, and of course, the Concerto for a Rainy Day are indeed among the best ELO songs in my opinion. This album is an absolute adventure of awe, wonder, and fantasy. From the opening fade-in of Turn to Stone all the way to the satisfying final note of Wild West Hero. If you haven't listened to this record before, I surely hope you do so very soon. And if you have already, listen to the whole thing again, anyway and anytime you can, and let yourself be immersed. Out of the Blue is out of this world. So what do you folks think? Is this ELO's magnum opus? Or do you prefer another album of theirs? Let me know down below in the comments. And that's it for this year, my friends. I hope it had been a good enough one for you as it would be for me. As well as a good Christmas, Boxing Day, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, or just any other happy holiday in general around this time of year. Next time, we begin another new year with something more smaller and more simple. After such a long album to sit through, it's yet another top list, one regarding video game franchises. And to quote John Lennon from the Plastic Ono Band, have a happy new year. Let's hope it's a good one, without any fears. Here's to 2023.